last problem on our notes, if you even need it, but we are solving this polynomial, this cubic polynomial. So a reminder still that because our exponent is 3 here, we're still going to have 3 solutions. And but the difference from what we have been working on our notes today is that this one, in terms of factoring, we don't have greatest common factor. We don't have any of those other options. We're gonna have to use SOAP. And again, that reminder is the little parentheses and the big parentheses. And unfortunately for me, again, I don't have a calculator on the screen. I wish that I did, but what we're going to do is we're going to take the cubed root of 27, we'll get 3. We take the cubed root of x cubed, we get x. The cubed root of 8 is 2. We did a similar problem last week, but it wasn't the same. And then over here, it's going to be 27x cubed divided by 3x. And 27 divided by 3 is 9. X cubed divided by x. We had 3 x's, we took out 1, we've got 2. In this spot, 8 divided by 2 is 4. And the last part here is going to be taking this times this and multiplying them together. And 3x times 2 is 6x. And now we can put in the signs, and that's where the SOAP comes in. So it's going to be the same sign that the problem started with. Then it's going to be the opposite of the sign we just wrote, and then always positive. And once we have that set up, then we're going to take each of these factors and we're going to set them equal to 0. We're going to take 3x plus 2 equal to 0. And we're going to take 9x squared minus 6x plus 4, and we're going to set it equal to 0. And we can solve this 3x plus 2. We can subtract 2 from both sides. We get 3x equals negative 2. Divide both sides by 3. And then just because of space, I'm just going to circle it here. We get x equals negative 2/3. But over here, we have to use the quadratic formula. So I'm going to switch to a new page here. And the thing that I didn't put on the notes this week that we may need is what is the quadratic formula. And the quadratic formula is x equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all divided by 2 times a. So there's the quadratic formula. The equation that we need to solve is the 9x squared minus the 6x plus 4 equals 0. And a is 9, b is negative 6, and c is 4. And let's see how I do with my spacing here today. We get x equals the opposite of negative 6 plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all divided by 2 times a. Well, when we simplify that a little bit, this double negative here becomes a positive. So we get x equals 6 plus or minus. When you type in what's underneath the square root, we end up with negative 108, all divided by 2 times 9, which is 18. So again, what we have to do on this problem, and I don't know about my spacing, but we need to simplify the square root of negative 108, starting with the fact that we've got negative 1. And the square root of negative 1 is I. So I really am in a bad way for space. I'm just going to switch over here to a new page. So we've got I times the square root of 108, And then what we're going to do is we're going to break that down. And again, we could do something like 4 times 27. And 4 is 2 times 2. And 27 is 9 times 3. And 9 is 3 times 3. So we have 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 3. And what we need are 2 of the same to take out 1. 2 of the same to take out 1. Remember, solve it the way your Algebra 2 teacher taught you. But we already have an I out there, so we've got a 2 times 3i square root of 3, which ultimately equals 6i square root of 3. So now what we had, if you remember, we had 6 plus or minus the square root of negative 108 divided by 18. We've now simplified the square root of negative 108. So this is 6 plus or minus 6i square root of 3 over 18. And for the most part, Algebra 2 teachers would accept that answer, but I do want to show you that 6 and 6 and 18 all have a common factor of 6. So we can divide that factor out. 6 divided by 6 is 1. Plus or minus 6i divided by 6 is 1i square root of 3. And 18 divided by 6 is 3. And there are our final 2 solutions, but let's write them out. What we said is, we said that we would get 3 solutions, and again, that's because the degree of our polynomial is a cube. It's to the 3rd power. We came up with x equals negative 2/3, and then we came up with x equals 1 plus I square root of 3 over 3, and 1 minus I square root of 3 over 3. You could write the 1 in front of the I just didn't happen to do that, and we are fine with you writing 1 plus or minus I radical 3 divided by 3.